So far in this unit, what we've done is we've talked about chemical reactions. You've learned how to write them, write the chemical formulas. You've learned how to actually explain what's going on in a chemical reaction in words. Now what we're going to do, we started to talk about the 5 different types of reactions. We're actually going to look at each type of reaction in detail. So the first type of chemical reaction that we're going to look at is a synthesis reaction. Within synthesis reactions, as you can see right here, there are 3 different types. Okay? You've got formation of a binary compound, metal oxide water reactions, and non-metal oxide water reactions. So I'm going to take this time right now to break each of them down for you and provide you with examples. So before we get started, if you notice, here there's an M, here's an NM. So M stands for metal, while NM stands for a nonmetal. Now, if you notice, for each of these reactions, even though they're slightly different, they are all synthesis reactions, therefore they only produce one product. Alright, now, if you notice, for a 1B reaction, it produces a base. For a 1C, it produces an acid. So before we get started, we have to know what the formula for a base is and what the formula for an acid is. So for a base has a metal in front, and then it has the polyatomic ion hydroxide at the end. Okay? And I'll show you how to write these in just one second. For an acid, it starts with hydrogen, then it's got the non-metal, and then it's got oxygen after that. Alright? For 1A and 1B reactions, these two right here, in order to write your products, you need to cross your charges. Okay? So that's nothing new. What's new is 1C, which is for an acid, you will balance as you go. And I promise I'll show you examples. So I'm going to provide you with an example of a 1A, then I'll show you a 1B, and then a 1C. So for 1A, I need 2 different elements. So for example, I could give you, let's say calcium plus sulfur. Okay, you've got, this is your A, this is your B. So I have to determine what the product is going to be. I need to combine these 2 elements together. Alright. In order to do that, in order to write the formula for an ionic compound, I've got to cross my charges. So just as a review, calcium here has a 2 plus charge. Sulfur has a 2 minus charge. So when I cross my charges, the 2's end up canceling and I end up with just CAS. Alright, so if you notice for 1A, you're just taking 2 separate things, 2 separate atoms, combining them together to form an ionic compound. In order to form the ionic compound, you have to cross your charges. A 1B is very similar, except now I've got a metal with oxygen plus water, and that'll form a base. So for example, I could give you the following. Barium oxide, barium is a metal, plus water. And you need to write the product. Now, remember, a base is just a metal and OH. But in order to write that base, to write the formula for the base, I have to cross my charges again. So in this case, my metal is barium. I'll write it up here. Barium has a 2 plus charge. Okay, and then OH at the end. Well, hydroxide has a -1 charge. So when I cross my charges, the base that forms would be Ba, OH, in parentheses, 2. Okay, sorry I wrote off there. Okay, so barium oxide plus water gives you your base, barium hydroxide. I crossed my charges. Really quickly, I need to make sure I'm balanced. I've got 1 barium on my left-hand side, 1 barium on my right. Here I've got 2 oxygens total. I've got 2 oxygens because of the subscript 2. Hydrogen, I've got 2 of them. Hydrogen, I've got 2 of them. So we're good to go. All right. For the last one, this is to create your product. This is the only one where you do not cross your charges. Instead, you balance as you go. So I'll show you what that means. If I gave you, for example, NO2, which is your nonmetal and oxygen, plus H2O, my product is going to be an acid. Now, remember, an acid is hydrogen, then your nonmetal, and your oxygen. You do not need to cross any charges. You just write what is given to you, and you balance it as you go. So, for example, hydrogen, I've got 2 of them. So I first write my hydrogen, and a 2 after it. Then I write my nonmetal. My nonmetal is nitrogen. And then the last thing I'm going to put is my oxygen. Now, for oxygen, I've got 2 right here. I've got 1 right here, so that's a total of 3. Alright, so I actually think that the 1C is the easiest because you balance as you go. You're not crossing charges, and then I don't have to go back and try and balance because I already am balanced in order to write the formula for the acid. Alright, so in 1A and 1B, you've got to cross your charges, but for 1C, you do not because you are balancing as you go. And that's it.